Eskimos and the Thais.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they're never going to let that go.
It's like, you know how the Aborigines shouldn't have alcohol because they go crazy?
Yeah.
They shouldn't have crank.
Yeah.
Because they all go freaking nuts. There's always one on a roof and they have to shoot him down. It's really never like a negotiation.
Yeah.
It's like he's on the roof and, you know.
Have you ever seen it when you're over there?
Oh, you see it on television.
When you're over there?
Yeah. Well, they do it because it's just say no to drugs or we'll shoot you off the roof.
Now, when you watch it on TV,
that's how you say no. Say no, or you're going to go right off the roof.
Now, when you watch it on TV over there, do they play the whole thing?
Oh,
Here, like they'll cut it off.
You mean like Mexican TV where they show the bodies getting?
Yeah, like they show the whole thing fall off.
I think so. I try not to watch their TV too much because it's even worse than ours.
Yeah,
but they have like telenovelas and stuff like that.
I just assume that to send a message to the people. Look,
well, they do the show. You'll see the police catch you. They sit you down at a chair and they'll have whatever your shit is in front of you, and then there's like 6 cops standing behind you, and you look a little scared because they probably just beat the shit out of you 5 minutes before they put you in front of this.
Yeah.
And whatever gun or whatever drugs, and they're like, look how much we got taken off the market today.
Yeah, and they add a little bit to it.
Yeah.
To make it look a little bit
little
better.
taste for me, a little taste for the sergeant.
Yeah.
And then they go about their business. But yeah, they did a lot of good stuff under the past king, the great king. Help those countries that we do it. If you try to get them to do what they should do, which is they have to resolve the issues in their own country. A lot of those places, and I can't say all of them, but a lot of those places, if you're there, it's usually a land usage issue. Certain people own all the land, and they're not using it. And the people could farm it or something. I'm not saying it as a communist.
Right.
It would make sense as a valve on aggression to let them share crop like we used to do in the United States. You know, it sounds grossly simple, but they don't even do things like that. You know, you either work for the man or you don't work for the man in a lot of places. You're either, whatever, doing coffee or whatever, sugarcane, things like that, or you're not. That's their agrarian work. Chile, I don't think, does it so much. They're pretty good. If you notice, most of the vegetables in the grocery store around here are usually from Chile.
Yeah, I do. I want to go to Chile and look through that microscope.
But, you know, Central America, it's just been a series of mismanagements all the way across the board. And, you know, they have to take responsibility. It's not always the big bad Americans.
Africa. And what'd you do with energy cells?
That
sounds like it was a nightmare.
No, it was.
Well, I heard that.
It was a shame. What it was is a shame because I lost like $1 million.
Huh.
in a weekend.
I would say that sucks.
Yeah, well, I didn't have it yet, but they said that I don't gamble.
Yeah.
But they said that's the sign of like you would be a degenerate gambler if you considered that money was your money already.
Yeah.
And that you've lost it even though you didn't have it.
Okay, so with all due respect, how'd you piss away $1 million?
I didn't. The other guy who was with us screwed up the whole deal. But I'd been brought in. I used to be in solid waste, trash, demolition, all that stuff like that, in New Jersey. And I was talking to a guy, and he's like, oh, you know, we're involved in this project, and they want to put trash to steam the plants in Africa. There's a lot of trash. There's no electricity. So I said, yeah, I can do that for you. I said, well, what's it look like? And then picked the country, and I said, well, they have a lot of sugar cane there that they don't use. And here up near Belle Glades, we have, you know, U.S. Crystals, all the big sugar cane companies. Their issue was years ago they couldn't get electric, so they put these big self-generating plants in where they burn the sugar cane after it's been dried.
Really?
That's how they power all those facilities out there.
Really?
Yeah, they had a thing with power and light years ago, and they couldn't work it out.
Wow.
So I went on a tour just for fun because you got to know your state, right?
Yeah.
And this was years before that, and I still had the booklet. So I said, well, why don't we build one of these things, and we'll just use the cane as fuel instead of as export because there's no export for it now. That was all that guy needed to hear. He was an African too. And they have their own little pipeline of how they talk to people. So we went around selling that party to a couple different countries. And we ended up in the one. And it was going real well. You know, we saw everything that had to be done. And they agreed to pretty much everything we wanted to do. The problem I had was the company I dealt with, which was originally one guy and his tribe, I guess. They added a second partner, but I was a contract employee.
Okay.
I'm just there to explain how this thing works, and will you guys buy this or not?
So you really have no say when it comes to that.
Yeah, but my commission was based on selling these things.
Right.
So once they saw that it was really, because they were trying, ultimately what happens a lot of times, I'm guessing this is what happens a lot of times, because I saw a room full of them. They would get deals where somebody in their government would okay a feasibility study, and usually they get like the United Nations to pay for it. Maybe a feasibility study costs X amount of dollars. You're the government guy that said that I can do it. Part of that money goes to you. Part of that money goes to me. I put together this fantasy world project, which will never fly. It would fly, so you don't get sued, but it will not fly there.
Yeah.
And then we hand it in, and then nothing goes forward. So people make money just generating these kind of reports. Here we had an actual, I guess they should have told me that we were trying not to get this thing done. You know? So I was like, yeah, we can do this. You know, we had all the maps out. We're, yeah, you know, this is the distances from here to there. Because the country, a lot of them that are what they call Francophone Africa, which is the ones the French used to own. When the French gave up the ghost, when the British left, they sort of just said, screw you, we leave. The French signed all these contracts with the Africans where they still ran everything, kind of. Like they still had the electric utilities, they still had the water pump, you know, all that. That government would then contract with a French company to handle all that stuff. Damn. So they weren't getting anywhere.
Sounds like layers on top of layers.
Yeah, well,
so like, was it all a scam?
The problem was when I went there, I expected it to be like Banana Republic stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody I dealt with had gone to a real school. Everybody was very serious about not wanting to leave their country. They wanted to stay there. They wanted their country to be better. Their problem was the NGOs operate like criminal organizations. If they go to...
and what's an NGO?
Non-governmental organization.
Okay, sorry.
Like, you'll see them all over. Like I don't want to give an example because they'll sue us. But you'll see all these little aid groups that operate over there. And instead of me giving the money to your health department, I give it to my cousin's NGO, who then pisses X amount of it away, and maybe it gets done, maybe it doesn't get done. A very, I guess, I don't know if you call it, depressing version of that would have been The Constant Gardener, if you saw that movie.
Yeah, it sounds like a Ponzi scheme without the Ponzi.
Because nobody's there.
You know what I mean?
Somebody's always getting something.
Yeah.
And the only people losing are usually everybody had to scam. We're eating in the place because there was no place for us to go outside of the fence. And so I go down, they have a big menu, and I'm like, oh, I'd like this. No. You don't have it? Like, no. So I had either a steak au poivre.
What the hell's that?
That's steak with cream sauce with crushed peppers.
Does it actually taste like steak?
It's delicious.
Or is it like...
Those guys can cook. See, this is the problem.
Is it actually steak, though?
Yeah. It's very expensive. The problem that people don't realize is the French taught all the people that needed to know how to make pastry, how to do all the French cooking. So it's just Africans cooking exactly like you'd have in France.
So how much was it, like a really good steak over there?
I don't know because I didn't pay for it.
Ah.
And then they had capitan, which is a fish. So I'm like on this, and like day 3, the guy comes by and says, he didn't want to be nasty about it, but he's like, you're eating a lot of steak and fish. I said, well, there's no other options. They don't have anything else on the menu.
Yeah.
And he gets and he goes in the back, and here the hotel knew the government was paying, and they were only selling us the most expensive thing on the menu.
Because they
knew the government was going to pay for it.
Oh, shit.
And, they thought it was us because they were getting a daily bill.
Right.
And there's only 4 or 5 of us altogether. But figure you're each having the most expensive thing on the menu.
Yeah, the restaurants
2 times a day.
Yeah. That was a good move by the restaurant.
Yeah, but I mean,
hey, you got to give them a.
It just never ended. It was like a constant. I could see how somebody who was working with their government and says, "Look, we really want to do this and this," and they're like, "Well, we'd like to do it, but your friends just ran up a $50,000 steak bill and toilet paper bill in the hotel." Boxing talent, they can't get out of the city. They have to fight each other all the time at the amateur level. Now we just had Jerron Ennis fight this weekend, demolished this kid. So Jerron is going to be.
Now, why can't they get out of the city? When you say they can't get out of the city,
it's really, I guess comes down to how the amateur program's put together.
Oh, okay.
And it really needs to, like you said, it's very similar like the UFC, that nobody really worries about you till you can make them money.
Yeah.
And it'll probably get me yelled at. I have to go back up there in May. Somehow somebody will hear about this and they'll be like, oh, you go in the gym and like somebody will hit me with a barbell from behind. Talent's not trying to develop a fan base. I mean, I've had talks with a number of guys in that area, and I said to them, look, you got to go on the Instagram. I mean, I don't want to do Instagram. I'm training. I don't care what you're doing. Get your girlfriend or your brother or your manager or whoever, develop like 100,000 followers. That's a good number. So then you can go to whoever, whatever company it is you need to get something from, and cut down on your overhead, because at the amateur level, it's just money going out.
Yeah, because you got to pay for everything.
And if you want to go, like when I do a little something with these guys, like I'm doing something with a young kid now, his name's Salim Bey. And he's not going to, he wouldn't be in time for this Olympics, but I'd like to see if he's going to be around for the next one. There's a couple of kids in town there. Johnny Rivera is good. He should go to the Olympics. Not this year, but the next one, I'd like to see him there. He's another. And they have a good dynamic where the father works with them.
Yeah.
Keeps them straight. There's no drugs. There's no crimes. There's no.
Keeps them in line on the right path.
Because they're so, especially in certain neighborhoods, there's so much pressure on them not to succeed, but to do other dumb shit.
Yeah.
So it's a full-time job with the training, and then it's a full-time job just making sure trouble doesn't come to them. Right. They don't have to go looking for, you don't have to go looking for trouble.
No.
Trouble will find you.